Hey guys, it's Julie from Plan to Create, and I wanted to bring you along today while I flip through my pages from October. I started off here on the 17th and 18th because these are a couple of my favorite pages together. Like, I feel like I might have one page I like, but not necessarily like the other. So these are actually two that I really enjoyed, so I thought I would showcase them here in the beginning. But I also wanted to just talk about the fact that my book is like, I love this. I love to create something really pretty, but I also just love to create and to spend a little bit of time and to take a few risks. I have a background in scrapbooking, so I used to do a lot of like layouts of my kids, and I would just belabor those layouts. I would just, agonize over each and every detail. And I kind of got myself into a rut where I would like maybe not even start a page because it became too much work to pull it together. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but I just got tired of that because then it was just like I was gathering supplies, I had big dreams in my head, but I was really struggling to take those ideas and execute them onto paper. And so what this book is for me is a place to take away the pressure, to just throw the things onto paper, and sometimes they work out and you get a really pretty page like this. And other times it's just plain and boring, and that's okay. These monthly pages are pretty much plain and boring for me. But even this page, as I open up for my first days here in October, not a huge fan of the way this looks, but also just like grateful to have things on paper. I'm really glad that these photos are not just still floating in my phone. I can actually pull them out. I can show my family. Someone asked me that recently in a question and answer that I posted on Instagram. Like, do you show your pages to your family? You should ask them because they're probably like, yes, she does. And I oftentimes will take the photo, I'll send it to them like, hey, you're in my book today. I mean, no one cares in my family as much as I do, let's just be real, but I do show them. So that was a question. Thought I would throw that out there. And I don't necessarily like have these sitting out on the coffee table or something for, friends and family to look through, but I just enjoy them. And honestly, I create these for myself, and whoever else wants to enjoy them, great. So starting off the month, I just want to point out that I do go back and forth between weekly pages and daily pages, and I just make it work. Sometimes it's a little bit less pretty than others. I think you can see if I flip back here to September, which I did want to show you these pages because I don't think I had them done when I was showing you my final September flip through. I love the way this one turned out. It's just so cute. I think I talked in my last video about how this pillow from Target is one that I picked up, and I've used it often like as an inspiration for stamping this design out on my pages. It's just, take a half circle. I totally messed these up, but it's okay. You take a half circle, kind of repeat that pattern, and it's a fun one to play around with. But then I ended up doing Sunday, I think the 28th, and Monday the 29th, and then we were heading out of town, so I was just like, yeah, we're not doing any more. So you're going to see the 29th kind of reappear here, but nothing super Monday specific on this page. And then the 30th was like a travel day, so I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think I messed up the stamping. I was like, why do I have that around there? I messed up the stamping, so this is a white sticker, the 30th, and I created an edge for it with a circular stamp. I mean, things are often born out of mistakes here on my pages. But all that to say is that like these pages are not like my favorite to look at. But again, they're just me getting things out, getting them onto paper, and I'm just happy and grateful for whatever I have done. Would I have picked a different color ink there? 100% yes. But it's like we did our best bringing her in here and trying to kind of balance out some of the orangey red, and it's all good. So I really thought that my October would entirely be weekly pages, but then once we traveled and I knew I had several photos from each day, I thought, oh nope, we're pulling out the daily pages. So that's what I did. I just pulled them out, and these were all created, the week or so later after I got home, and I just slowly plunked away at printing photos and then just pulling little elements from my stash that I felt like coordinated. This is a Coffee Monster Co. washi tape that just reinforced this photo I had taken, so that was fun to incorporate, life in the big city. And just loving spending time with our son and watching him thrive in a place where he's just following his dreams. Super fun. So want to talk about that kind of stuff here and showcase that on the pages. Really enjoyed Chicago, beautiful city. And again, the Coffee Monster Co. has her special Chicago washi that she created, and I had snagged that, so it was fun to incorporate. I think last week I found this in my purse and I was like, oh shoot, I totally forgot to use it on my pages. So I just took the sticker from one of our, we went to a comedy club and they gave me a sticker of all people. They picked me from the crowd, and I was like, you have no idea how excited that makes me. But I just threw that in there, and even though I didn't get it like on the page, it's still part of our memory. We had actually taken the train to the show that night, so that worked out great. And then just like lots of little pieces and things that just kind of help tell my story of our time in Chicago. Again, probably, I think in looking back at my books, the pages where I have a lot of photos are probably just not going to be as aesthetically pleasing. I feel like I have a lot more wiggle room and play when I can just, really selectively choose my elements and my stickers and my stamps. I get to have like full control over this, whereas this I'm having to work with a random color scheme, or, I'm wanting to include a few things that are not necessarily easy. So I feel like those pages are always going to turn out a little bit less attractive, I guess I would say. I mean, they're not terrible, but I think that these are a lot more fun, and I like the open space that I'm able to do on these. I love kind of this little, like, taking little bits and pieces, layering them, and, that's just been fun. So these days reflect, probably, these are days that I was actually working on these pages, so they're light. I didn't have as much going on. I was coming back from vacation. Those are, re-entry is always a little bit struggle for me. So I think that these are light, but they're also really fun. What I do is every year, I specifically for the month of October set aside anything like Halloween or fall, and I put them in a little plastic carrier, and I bring them out once a year. And so you're going to see here that I was just like reintroducing myself to some of these things and just like so excited to see them. Some of them I have sprinkled here. And so just anything in all fall, sweater weather, whatever I can find, I'm pulling out and using. This day I met up with a friend and we celebrated our November birthdays a little bit early because it was just a chance that we had to be together. And this sticker here I found at the same time as that little Metro card in my purse, and I was like, dang it, I totally forgot. So I plunked it on there because I thought, I have it, it's fun. I wanted to remember going to that place with her. So it offset the page slightly. It was just like that and probably a little more, attractive. But I was like, threw that on and then tried to kind of meld in some more color with it. Whatever. I wanted to use these cute little cat collage birthday. I love them. I love the colors. I love adding purple on my pages in October, purple, plum, whatever. So that was really fun. The bright red kind of kicked my tail after I added that. I was like, oh, you're bright, but it was doable. I could work it in and found this little sticker that kind of had some pink and that bright red, I think that's kind of the fun and the struggle is, helping things meld together. Ideally, I love it when these two pages balance and have the same colors, so I took the pink and kind of threw it in after the fact, but it's okay if they don't coordinate perfectly. It's fine. This one I did share a snippet video. That's basically just a quick little snippet of my creative process in my journal, and so I will add a little link up here for you in case you haven't seen that yet or you're interested in seeing how a page comes together, because I know it's one thing to look at these and see them and kind of wonder like what in the world did she do. So I try to share periodically like, oh, here's how it kind of pulls together. I don't spend a ton of time on my pages. I don't know, I come in and out throughout the day typically, and that's why it makes it tricky to film, because like say right now I'm filming and there's beautiful sunlight and everything's great, and then if I come in at 3 o'clock and I have my blinds down because of the heat, or there's always excuses and reasons, but then the lighting is super shifty and weird, so I don't always film like a full together collective thing. I don't really work in huge chunks. I definitely love to come putter to putts and then to just see where it all ends up. So that's kind of why I share snippets. Sometimes it does give you the full, start to finish. Sometimes it's just like, hey, here's where I started and here's where I ended up. Anyways, this page here, again, I was just kind of trying to incorporate some of these same colors, kind of balance it. These are sticky notes from Post-it, part of their noted line that I picked up years and years ago. It's obviously sticky on the top, and then I just used a little bit of adhesive along the bottom and add that as if it were a sticker. I felt like these ghosts were super cute, but they needed to have something to pop off. They were not going to show up against the white paper, so that's kind of why I ended up pulling that in that particular instance. This is just like a create from nothing page, like I have nothing to say, I have nothing, so what do I see that it can work together that helps tie it here? It's just a challenge. It's just a fun creative challenge then, and it's not all about like memory recording. This one I had seen a piece of paper, it was a Kelly Perky paper, and I think I have some footage maybe even where I thought about putting that on there, but her paper is really thick, and I just was like, and I can pull my pages out, so I shouldn't worry about it, but I don't like a lot of ledges. So I was like, well, wait, maybe I could use markers to create that same look with just, it'll be flat, and won't have to deal with the thickness. So that's what I did using my Crayola Super Tips, super simple. And I think again, like this was, I shared part of this as a reel, and then later I ended up coming back and adding a little bit more. So it's kind of just, again, like how I work. This is a fun trick as well. I shared in my last video. You can just use markers to create patterns. They can be simple or, you know, get a little bit more intricate, but it is a fun way to add a little bit of texture and pop to a page that it's still flat and it's not necessarily thick or adding bulk. It's just a quick little space filler. This page was a fun one. This was a sticky note again. So I purchased the Cocoa Daisy Halloween kit this year. I wanted to add in a few more new elements to my little stash, and the sticky note pad was part of it. And again, that white on the white paper, I was like, I gotta do something to help make that pop. So I just stamped on it and I inked up the edges a little bit with an ink pad, and you know, just tried to kind of give it a little bit of life. And again, here's that trick that I just shared there. I included some bats and kind of just created my own little pattern paper, I guess, if you will. These are the sticky notes cut in half. I'm starting to think, you know, we're starting to watch our time here. We're still in Alaska, but gearing towards Arizona, and just recognizing the temperature differences of where we're going. And again, just literally pulling in a bunch of fun things that I was excited to reintroduce myself from my stash. These two pages, like I said earlier, are a couple of my favorites because they're so cohesive, because there's like nice white space, they're kind of well balanced. This was a rub-on from the Cocoa Daisy. I really like rub-ons because you can really work around them, similar to stamps. It's not a ledge you have to deal with. This cute little puppy ghost costume was so cute. I didn't love every piece of the Cocoa Daisy kit, so when I can incorporate little pieces and kind of help them play nicely with others, I feel like that was a fun challenge for me. Must not be a rub-on. I don't know where that came from now. Maybe I printed that. But it was a perfect space. Like, I loved how that filled in between there. You kind of see I already had this, already had that. I was like, ooh, the bat. Like, those kinds of things make me ridiculously happy. So that's just what I'm kind of there for. This page, again, kind of started here. I think I shared it maybe at this point. I don't know. We had a smoke alarm go off that morning, and then I'm talking about how Life of a Showgirl has been on nonstop. My family is a little bit under impressed with me, but I don't care. And then just, yeah, ended up going out to dinner that night with my husband, so just kind of how that whole page evolved. Love it. I love that, all the little bits and pieces of our day are recorded, but also really that I've just had a chance to play with some fun supplies and to make them work together. This was a cute page. This was fun. This was not set out with my Halloween things. I just plunk through these periodically. I have these washi strips from Shop Freckled Fawn, and I think it was this one. So you can see the colors technically are not October-y or anything, but I just thought, ooh, I really liked it with this little gal. I felt like they were fun colors. Does not coordinate with this page, but I don't mind at all. And I was incorporating a little bit more from my Everyday Explorers kits. Those have been fun. I've been subscribed the last couple months to the Everyday Explorers journaling kit. She includes some washi tape, some clear stickers, which I always love, really thin stickers, which I'm very happy about. So working some of those in amidst my other supplies has been really fun. I really mentioned that in my last video, how that is a fun challenge for me to not just use one solid kit, because of course that goes and that's great and no brainer, but it's fun to mix and match different brands, different things, and kind of try to see them all meld together as best I can. You guys have probably picked up on it, but occasionally I will just do this different orientation of writing. I feel like that helps instead of everything all being fluffing in together. A lot of times it's maybe I write this first and then I'm like, well, crud, now I have this space. If I write going this way, I feel like it gets confusing, where one starts and stops. So I'll just entirely shift my orientation, go a different direction, and I feel like that's a nice way to break it up a little bit. This page, I was just primarily working on my computer, doing a bunch of Etsy design work, so I just kept it super simple. I pulled out some things from Happy Planner, sticker book, really random things that I typically feel like I wouldn't use, and I like to do that. I like to just pull them out and be like, okay, figure out how to work it. So just mixed and matched that with some things that I already had on hand and just tried a little bit of a new color combination that day and kept it really simple. Now this page, oh man, this is a stamp set from Studio Calico. I believe it was their October stamp of the month or whatever they call it, their stamp subscription. And I really thought I loved it, and then I stamped under here. You would see I actually stamped in yellow and pink, direct to paper, and I literally hated it. Like, it was just like, oh my gosh, I hate it. And then adding these stickers on there, it was more like these colors, and I was like, it just was not jiving well with anything else I wanted to do. So I ended up taking black and stamping it onto white sticker paper, overlaying that, and then adding these like blues and greens to kind of help balance out. I think I did it the day after I, as I was creating this, or maybe even after, and it helped like pull these pages together way better. It was really, really not good in the beginning. But this is also washi tape from Hiba Also by Creates. That's a cute little like cozy set. So yeah, here it is. I have it right here. And just like, it's from Hiba and In a Creative Bubble. Cute little guys. I could have used, yeah, I did use it here on this page. And those colors kind of inspired me for these pages. And I do like that. I mean, I didn't stick with one entire scheme all of October. I feel like maybe there's yellow and maybe a little bit of orange on every page, or I don't know. It's just like they all kind of end up blending. Maybe not these, but, and not this. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. So did a little bit of masking here where I like stamped the two, and then I took my masking tape, which I have this from scrapbook.com, and you lay this over where you do not want to have your stamp show up, and then you stamp over it. Gives you kind of that like little tucked look, and I thought that that was fun. So this is where it's just fun to play. And again, maybe I don't have a lot to say about the day, but I just definitely enjoy playing with the supplies. And this is me back in Arizona now, and kind of reacquainting myself with some things that maybe I haven't had access to for a few months, so that's fun as well. This was a cute page. It totally started off just like that, and I kind of was like, okay, I'm done. And then that entire day I got distracted making stickers on Canva, which I just, like, I'm always like, ooh, I want something a little bit like this. And so I start, and I just can't stop myself, basically. So I created these, and I printed them out. They're huge that way, but you can resize them on Canva and make them smaller. And of course, there's lots of ways you can mess around. So obviously I made these a lot smaller. They're really cute there, and I just included like every sticker so that I could kind of have that documentation of what I had been working on that day. Here's one that I went ahead and used larger, and that Hocus Pocus Lost My Focus. It was a struggle this month. I went from moments of like great productivity, total focus, to like just absolutely can't muster up the energy or couldn't care. And it's a bummer. I feel like I do vacillate between those two things a lot, and it just is what it is. Here's an example of where I probably did the stamp, thought, oh, I'll come back and do my temperature. Never made it back for the temperature, but because it was there, I think it kind of helped me pull back in and get the rest of that page done. I am trying to include a little bit more in my own writing. I typically regret it. This is okay though. I feel like I do better when I just do like my little cursive. I'm not, doing any fancy lettering. It's just my handwriting with a marker, basically. I did one somewhere back here in that same, yeah, like there. I would like to do more. I look at Jen Boom Creates. If you don't follow her, she's an amazing, she just has really good writing. And I look at hers and I think, I could do it, I can try, I can get better. And I end up always regretting. I'm 10 times more likely to do a stamp, that says today than to write today. So that's what you see, is just a lot of stamping for me, is just my safe bet. But occasionally I do like to incorporate a little bit of my own handwriting. And then I was just leaving this here because I wanted to show you guys that. I kept this here kind of as my current page. It was always here wherever I was, so I kept my little tab here on the bottom. I could always find my current day or my current week. But this is kind of where we're at. It's Sunday now as I film, so I did not do yesterday's much. But this is an example, when I'm back to a weekly spread, I felt like I said, that creativity was just not rolling out of me this month towards the end. So it was like, okay, let's not force it with a whole page every day. Let's just do little snippets. And this is what it looks like when I just come in and I plug in, I have every day, I just start to add a little bit until I just don't. I like the way this turns out. It's a lot more snippety, less, it's not a full beautiful layout, because I'm not beginning with the end in mind, which I don't do a lot of in general. But it's a fun place for me to play, and I knew I wanted to have this sticker. It was one of my favorites from the cat collage, so I included it here kind of on Friday. Happy Halloween. These diamond stamps were fun. I did them there and there just to have a little bit of background, and I knew I did those early, but I knew I could write over them if need be. And then adding the dates, was just kind of a fun way to fill up some space and create cohesion across the whole page. When I don't do that, then there's nothing unifying the page. When I at least do that, it's like, okay, these pages belong together, they are a set, and always incorporating a little bit of purple. And then I just have started to work here on my October wrap-up page. It's like a random month, you know, all the things that we did. We're in Chicago, we started in Alaska, we ended up in Arizona. So kind of wanting to just talk about all those different things. The All Blacks just played in Chicago. My son got to meet a bunch of the All Blacks from New Zealand. That was pretty cool. So again, I took this element, it's thick, it's like a chipboard sticker, ended up cutting it so I could have the title there. But that's like a big step for me to have that thickness. I'm like, don't let it bother you, try not. And we'll see how I get the green and the red all tied together. I'm not done yet, and it still has some work to be done there. But then I have for November set out just weekly pages. I'm feeling like that's probably going to be the schedule that will work for me. My kids are going to be coming the 17th, and pretty much I'll have family here at my house from then on till like January, in and out, just a mix of all my different, you know, kids and doggies and all sorts of stuff. I cannot wait for the dogs to come. So it's just going to be a little bit more chaotic, and I don't anticipate that this will be my space. I'll be sharing this space with one of my kids at least. Just trying to be realistic about, you know, a daily creation probably isn't going to be in the cards, but I definitely would like to still document and get that little itch scratched. So I've just gone ahead and put in some weekly pages, but I also have the dailies all set, cut, ready. So if I want to throw some of them in, I could even cut half pages, or, you know, there's just so many options. I could do 2 pages per day if I feel like it. There's a lot of options, and I don't know exactly where I'll go, but I know that I'll be doing something. There's a good chance for me to say I have ordered inserts in the Happy Planner Classic size. In some parts of their website for the Hemlock and Oak, they call it Happy Planner Classic. Other times it just says Classic. So that's the insert size that I will be using. It will be a 9-disc full Happy Planner Classic. So I feel like I will be it's going to be a lot easier for me to find covers for it. This one I've been just hodgepodging, putting together what I can. It's not half letter, it's not Happy Planner Classic. So it's been a little bit of a challenge, but I am excited to go ahead and use that larger size. I did ask on Instagram if anyone had any specific questions about my process or, you know, about my journal. And I think I tried to incorporate a couple of the questions. Tracy had asked how much time I spend on my journal, and it really fluctuates, Tracy. It just literally depends on whether I'm doing a daily page or whether I'm doing weekly, and it just kind of is like, how much time do I have to spend? I typically work in probably 10 to 15 minute increments, and maybe I do 2 of those throughout the day, maybe 3. So, I mean, I would say max 30 minutes a day, but oftentimes less than that, especially when I'm doing like a weekly page like this. It's pretty quick. I pop in, I stamp, I head out. Another question I received was, how do I make planning and crafting a habit? I struggle with making dedicated time. And I think that that's fair. I think that when I was younger and juggling family, like my whole name was called Plan to Create. I would plan my week out so that I always kept out Fridays open. I would get all of my groceries, all of my cleaning, all of my errands done on Monday through Thursday so that I would have Friday to create. And I don't know how that looks for everyone else. Like maybe you don't have that designated open schedule, but I feel like you do have to be pretty mindful and actually like pencil in some time. I try to do mornings in here because that's when I typically feel more creative. Sometimes in the evenings I'll pop in at the end of the day and just add a little snippet, but a lot of times I'll be in the morning adding for the previous day because that's just when I have the energy and I feel like the idea is probably something to do with the fresh cup of coffee. But yeah, I don't really have tips for that because I feel like even in my own life it's varied, you know, when I've had time and when I haven't had time. I think I take breaks if I need to. I never make this something that I have to do. I want it to remain something that I want to do. So I think that that's important. And if you need a break, take the break and then come back refreshed. That's a big deal for me too. Okay, so as I look back in general on my pages for this month, I can see the times that I was feeling it. I actually feel like probably September was really like a very creative month for me. I was in a roll. I had no travel. I was just home, no disruptions. I feel like October was choppier. I spent time in 3 different places, so it took me a minute to get back into it. I think you can see like I traveled, I came back, I got into like the October roll, and then when we came back down here to Arizona, this is the day, I think from this point on, I haven't felt like quite as pulled together, I guess you could say. And the point, I guess, I want to say, like, someone asked, like, how do I stay consistent? And part of that you're going to see. I switched. I immediately took pressure off. It's like, oh, it's like if it's been a struggle and I'm not really filling my pages, I'm flopping over to weeks. I guess I think that part of how I stay consistent is by not pressuring myself to be consistent. One of the things is, like, I lay these pages here, and if I walk by my desk, like, I want to dig in. I have things kind of sprinkled on my desk that might entice me. You know, I don't keep everything super tidy all the time because I'll spot something. I'm currently looking, like, I have little boxes set aside for, like, oh, here's some ideas that I might want to use, some color schemes. So I have these kinds of things set aside here on my desk that will just catch my eye, and you never know, like, that might spark something like, ooh, let's try this. So that's, I guess, a couple of tips is, like, number one, don't make it a pressurized situation. Don't feel like you have to check a box. Let yourself take a day off. Let yourself take a week off if you need to. And truly, it could just not be the right time of life. Like, if it's a complete struggle for you to get in and to do this, maybe you just need to give yourself a pass for a minute. Maybe your focus needs to be somewhere else, you know, and that's okay. There's times and seasons. When my kids were in the thick of it and they're younger, I wasn't doing this. You know, I have a lot more time on my schedule now, so give yourself a big pass for that, and then maybe approach it realistically. Like, don't start a daily journal if you're starting from scratch. You know, this weekly recap gives you, like, a lot less space to fill for every day. That's kind of some tips that I would say for staying consistent. And then, yeah, like I think I mentioned, just leaving little goodies around my desk and surrounding myself with some things that spark my creativity and spark my interest really does help. Okay guys, this video has definitely taken a longer turn. So I did address a couple of the questions from Instagram, and I do appreciate the, like, 4 of you that asked questions, and the fact that I can't get all of them answered, I'm sorry. I had someone ask about the inks, the favorite inks that I use in my planner, and I thought that might be a good one to address in a different video. I just recently purchased some new inks. I'm a huge fan of the felt pad for an ink pad. I've been using a lot of the Stamp Market, and they're a foam pad, so they're kind of soft, squishy, and every once in a while I can run into some trouble with that. A felt pad is harder, and it's just a little bit more forgiving. It's what I learned on, so I thought I would address that in a separate video. Please let me know below if that's something that also interests you. Oh, and then someone else asked about the main sticker shop I use. I don't really have a sticker shop, but that's, again, something I would love to cover. And I feel like in my process videos, I may drop names a little bit more on the products that I'm using, just like it's kind of a natural thing to say, oh, here I'm using this, over there I'm using that. If I tried to point out every brand in a flip through, I feel like it would bog the video down pretty quick. It's going to be kind of annoying. However, if you ever see a certain product that you're like, oh my gosh, where did you get that? Please don't hesitate to comment below and ask me. I'm happy, and I'm going to be able to recognize it pretty quickly. So not a big deal. I'm happy to kind of address those one-on-one. But I also link the main sticker shops that I use generally in my description down below. So just kind of pop down there and see if it's something that maybe already answers your question. I use a lot of the same ones over and over, so you'll kind of be able to get a feel for the different brands I use that way. Dina, you asked me how I organize my supplies. And I also feel like that might be another video, because I kind of have been trying to get a system down. I'm rotating through some things. I'm trying to pull, like I showed you guys, like little bins of ideas, like even like, oh, here's some products to use in November, here's some products to use in December. I feel like when I pulled out my stuff this month in October, it was so fun to pull the things together. It felt like it took I don't have a vast amount of supplies, but I always think shrinking is great because it's just less decision fatigue. You're just going to make decisions a lot quicker when you have less to choose from. So I feel like that's kind of a thing going forward that I would like to continue to do more and more, kind of, you know, get down to a certain color scheme and pull certain supplies and just use those for a week, a month, however long it works, you know, not to make it rigid or hard, but just to kind of actually help me out in the long run. So in the process of that, then I tend to store by color, and I kind of have little things set out on my desk like this that it'll help me spot some of the products that I know I want to use. And, you know, if I tuck something away out of sight, there's a strong chance I won't actually pull it back out. So I do keep a good fair amount of things as I'm glancing around my desk. It's a little chaotic, but yeah, I keep things out so that I can spot them, and that is part of my storage process. I can't remember if I answered the question about sticker paper. I always link that below. I use clear sticker paper, Avery. I can never remember the number. I think it's 8665, but that's what I recommend. I think there's probably other cheaper options out there, but it's just been faithful, and I subscribe and save on Amazon. The last thing that someone asked was, do I store old planners? And so that's not really related to this video. I do store old creative journals for sure. I have a closet right here tucked behind me. You can probably see the door a little bit. It has a shelf, and I just keep them in chronological order. I love to flip through. I like to bring them out seasonally even and just see like, oh my gosh, yeah, we were doing almost this very similar thing last year, you know, but with a twist. I think that that's fun. I also look back just for inspiration of like color things that I liked, or, you know, if something worked, why not repeat it? If I didn't like it, hey, avoid that. So I feel like those are fun to keep around, and I for sure keep them. And discs just make that easy. Like, just, you know, you're buying a set of discs every year, maybe 2 sets of discs for a year. Sometimes I'll have 2 books worth when it comes down to it. But those are not a huge commitment. It's not like I'm buying a leather binder for every book. This is a really pretty inexpensive way to store things, and they just sit on the shelf. I don't protect them particularly, but that door is shut a lot, so it's not super dirty or dusty in there. So, okay, I've got to wrap this up because it's such a long video. If you're still here, thank you so much for joining me. I know this was a long one. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me for a bit. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. It's always really nice to kind of put faces and names with people that might be watching. It's a little weird when you just stick your stuff out there and have no idea if anyone's watching, who's watching. So always enjoy when you guys interact like that. And I hope that this video just has inspired you somehow to grab a piece of paper, grab some inks, grab some stickers, and play around a little bit, see how it feels. Again, you'll see I'm a pretty no pressure approach to this, but I also feel like it is something that fuels me. I feel better when I do it. It's a little bit of reflective time too, and sometimes it's nice to reflect on some of the positive things throughout the day. I'm not above, you know, recording some of the negative things, but I think in this day and age, sometimes it's nice to just kind of stop and think like, okay, what went well today? And to spend some time thinking about that. Other than that, I really appreciate you being here. Look forward to joining you again. And if you have questions that you want me to address for the next video, questions you have about my process or things you want me to cover in more detail, go ahead and leave those in the comments as well. I tend to gloss over stuff that I feel like has been brought up over and over, but I realize that we're all kind of starting in, you know, at different tiers and different layers, and so something that I may gloss over might be confusing to you. Never hesitate to ask. Okay, till next time guys, take care.